Shalom. Before I get started with this lesson, I want to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachahakwadash. Double honor to my apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught me this truth and that rule well. And peace and salutation to the elect that's out here laboring in all truth and sincerity. To USA Shalom. This is brother Amon Ariyah from the GMS Charlotte camp coming back with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachahakwadash. And pretty much in this lesson, I wanted to go into of how our people, you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, have been slutted out by Babylon. All right, and this video, was inspired by this demon, NLE Chopper. All right, he has a series of songs called "Slut Me Out." Now, I didn't even try to listen to the songs, but just the title alone, sparked the idea for this lesson, because this is exactly what has happened to our people. All right, they have been slutted out by this system. All right, and when you look at the way that our people operate in this society to try to, feel accepted, you see that they have took the same path as a prostitute, man. Okay, like the scriptures say, why trimmest thou way to seek love? Our people have completely forgotten who has fed and nourished us, all right, and went to their pimp, all right, which is their oppressor, the so-called white man Esau Edom, because right now they view him as the only means of how they can be sustained, all right, and pretty much they don't think upon Yahweh Bashim Yahushai as our true husband, okay, because the Lord is angry with our people because we have taken on the role of the harlot, man. The scriptures say that. Matter of fact, let me grab that real quick. Where we at? This is what's a good starting point? This is Ezekiel chapter 23, and go up a little bit. Bear with me. Really, I can start at 1. This is Ezekiel 23:1. It says, the word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Son of man, there were 2 women, the daughters of one mother, and they committed whoredoms in Egypt. They committed whoredoms in their youth. There were their breasts pressed, and there they bruised the teats of their virginity. All right. And this is speaking of Babylon, man. All right, dealing with the northern and southern kingdom. Okay, though they have been the ones that have committed whoredom. Okay, it says, and the names of them were Aholah the elder, and Aholibah her sister, and they were mine, and they bare sons and daughters. Thus were their names: Samaria is Aholah, and Jerusalem is Aholibah. And Aholah played the harlot when she was mine, and she doted on her lovers, on the Assyrians her neighbors, which were clothed with blue, captains and rulers, all of them desirable young men, horsemen riding upon horses. Thus she committed her whoredoms with them, and with all of them they that were the chosen men of Assyria, and with all of them she doted. With all of their idols she defiled herself. And I believe Hola is going into the northern kingdom, okay? Because when you go into the history, all right, the northern kingdom, pretty much, they were carried away captive, by the Assyrians, all right? So you look at that in today's time, man. You look at the northern kingdom of today, all right? The so-called Latino and Native American tribes, man, they're completely engulfed in idolatry, man. All right, the Northern Kingdom, they worship, Cedric Borgia. All right, they do heavy, women worship, worshiping Mother Mary, Santeria. You know, the uh, the so-called native tribes, the so-called Indians, they worship all the freaking things under the sun. You know, so they play, the harlot. All right, and mostly they play, the harlot with Esau, because a lot of these northern kingdoms think they're so-called white people. Okay, but continuing on, it says, neither left her, neither left she her whoredoms brought from Egypt, for in her youth they lay with her, and they bruised the breast of her virginity, and poured their whoredom upon her. Wherefore I have delivered her into the hands of her lovers, into the hands of the Assyrians, upon who she doted. So the Lord gave, a whole over to her lover, which is, the oppressors at that time, which was the Assyrians. Okay, it says, these discovered her nakedness. They took her sons and her daughters, and slew her with the sword. All right, they went into captivity and were overtaken, and she became famous among women, for they had executed judgment upon her. And when her sister Aholibah saw this, Aholibah representing the southern kingdom, she was more corrupt in her inordinate love than she, and in her whoredoms more than her sister in her whoredoms. Because, like I said, when you look into the history, the Assyrians, all right, took the northern kingdom into captivity and removed them out the land, because you had during the split dealing with Jeroboam and Rehoboam. I believe Rehoboam was over the northern kingdom, and they had that divisions amongst the northern and southern kingdom, and so he went and put idols in the temple, and pretty much took the southern kingdom, because the tribe of Levi were the priest, and they forbade them to enter into the into their temples dealing with the northern kingdom side, and he put up his own priests, which were nothing but corrupt men. All right, which caused the northern kingdom to go into heavy idolatry. So over time, they became more and more wicked, to the point to where the Lord used the Assyrians to carry them away out the land. All right, and the southern kingdom saw the wickedness that the northern kingdom was doing, and you would think that they would learn from their mistakes, but they didn't. They ended up doubling down and going that same route of idolatry, man. Okay, it says, she doted upon the Assyrians, her neighbors, and captives, and rulers clothed most gorgeously, horsemen riding upon horses, all of them desirable young men. Then I saw that she was defiled, that they took both one way, and that she increased her whoredoms. For when she saw men portrayed upon the wall, the images of the Chaldees portrayed with vermilion, girded with girdles upon their loins, exceeding in dyed attire upon their heads, all of them princes to look to, after the manner of the Babylonians of Chaldea, the land of their nativity. And as soon as she saw them with her eyes, she doted upon them, and sent messengers unto them into Chaldea. Because just like you have the women today that are taken, by the men of status, man. They see all the things that all the allure that man has, and they're enamored by it, man. All right, the man has the flashy clothes, the jewelry. All right, he's well groomed, but they don't look at the spirit of how that man is. They're just taken by the carnality that they see. Well, that's the same thing that the Southern Kingdom did, man. All right, they were looking at the glory that the Chaldeans, that the Babylonians had, and they wanted to worship them, because we understand that these nations had their own, kings and rulers, and us, we worship in Yahweh Shem Shai. All right, our power was in the heavens, so we didn't have a physical, ruler per se. Even though we did have kings later on, during this process, but at the same time, we wanted what the other nations had, man. All right, and that was always a point in which was Achilles' heel for Israel, man. All right, because that they were enamored by the heathen. That's why scriptures tell you in Jeremiah. Let me grab that real quick. Jeremiah the 10th chapter. This is why the Lord said this. This is Jeremiah 10:1. Hear ye the word of the Lord. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Right. So the point being, we weren't supposed to learn the ways of the heathen. All right. The Lord, He said that we were a holy people. That word holy meant separate. So I say all this to say that, hey, our people became enamored by the glory of the heathen and the Gentiles, of what they had, and wanted to be a part of that. All right, which is why they began to take part in their idolatry. All right, they started to worship their customs, and eventually this caused Israel to fall, because we played the harlot. This is going to get into. It says, and the Babylonians, back in Ezekiel 23:17, and the Babylonians came to her into the bed of love, and they defiled her with their whoredom, and she was polluted with them, and her mind was alienated from them. So she discovered her whoredoms and discovered her nakedness. Then my mind was alienated from her, like as my mind was alienated from her sister. Because when you begin to go into the ways of the heathen, the ways of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, they pretty much get put to the back, because you start worshiping these other nations' gods, and then you forget about Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. That's what happened to us as a whole nation. Okay? It says, yet she multiplied her whoredoms, and calling to remembrance the days of her youth, wherein she played the harlot in the land of Egypt. And that's the point. All right? Our people played the harlot to the Most High, because we are, as a people, we are married to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, man. All right? We are likened unto the Lord's woman. Let me grab that real quick. This is Jeremiah 6:2. It says, I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman. Okay, so we are the Lord's woman, and we're married unto the Lord. Okay, so grabbing this next precept, this is Jeremiah 3:1. They say, if a man put away his wife, and she go from him and become another man's, shall he return unto her again? Shall not that land be greatly polluted? But thou hast played the harlot with many lovers, yet return again to me, saith the Lord. Right. And this is why, the subject of adultery, is such a heavy, penalty when it comes to our law, statute, commandments, because when you lay down with a woman, you impart your spirit upon her. So when that woman lays down with another man that's not her husband, that next man that lays with her, he defiles her, because he puts his spirit on that woman. And when you go into it, really, women are only supposed to know one man their whole life. The only way that a woman can have another husband is if that first husband, if he dies, man. All right. But the point being that since we became a harlot in the eyes of the Lord, and we pretty much stepped out on him, we had another nation's spirit on. We had another man's spirit on us, which was, these other nations and their gods, man. Okay, so the Lord, He put us away. All right, He disowned us, which is why He sent us into these different captivities, that we read about in our history, because we were put out the side of the Lord, because we offended Him by committing fornication with these other gods, man. All right, but the mercy of the Lord, shows you that He still has love for Israel, because it says in the latter part of this verse, it says, but thou hast played the harlot with many lovers, yet return again to me, save the Lord. And this is the whole point of the place that we're at right now. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is sitting back and watching who are going to repent and seek His face again, man. All right, this is the whole process that we're going through. All right, is to cleanse ourselves from our wickedness, and that we could be found acceptable back in the sight of the Lord. All right, but that's only going to happen if you repent and acknowledge your wickedness and come back unto the Lord with a broken and contrite spirit. Okay, this is Hosea chapter 5:15. It says, I will go and return to my place till they acknowledge their offense and seek my face. In their affliction they will seek me early. Right. So the Lord is sitting back and looking and seeing who is truly, looking to return unto Him, man. Because you have that in today's society, to where you look at, the women of today, These women are wait till they get, overly used up, and ran through all different type of rods, monkey branching or whatnot. And then once they're all used up and their spirits are messed up, that's when they want to start going to church and looking to seek the Lord. Where the Lord, he's not with that, man. All right, He wants you to come to Him in your youth. All right, grab that real quick. This is Ecclesiastes 12:1. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. Right. And when the Lord says, to seek Him in the days of your youth is when you're still young. But, you can also apply this, spiritually to where you're still, undefiled. Because you look at, physically, when you're, in your youth, you're still, you still have a manner of purity about yourself, man. All right. You're still, learning how things work. Well, it's the same way the Lord, wants you to come to Him, man. All right. Hey, acknowledge Him first, okay? Because He doesn't want you to wait till you're all, pretty much, till you're old and useless to Him, which just saying this, just for, balancing it. All right, the Lord calls who He wants. So we have, older brothers in the Spirit that have, awoken into the faith, but we all come to Yahweh Shem Yahushua in the spirit of a child. But the point being that, look, the Lord doesn't want you to wait till all hell breaks loose and you've played the whore, all right, and now once things are bad, that's when you want to seek Him. No, He wants you to seek Him while things are still copacetic, all right, and you have your veracity, your spiritual vitality, to where he can make use of you, man. Okay? So understanding that we're not supposed to be, mingling amongst these different heathen customs and these manners of idolatries and belief system, because we have a way the Lord set up for us, man. All right? Psalms 147:19 tells us that the law, statute, commandments was given unto Israel and Israel only, all right, which is the proof that the Lord is only dwelling amongst the house of Israel. But like I said, he gave us the laws to keep us separate from the filthiness of the heathen, man. Because when you go into the different, custom that the heathen do, man, it's totally, abominable, man. It's filthy when you start looking up some of these practices that these heathens do, man. All right, the Lord, he made us into a different fashion because we are a people like unto Himself. Okay, this is Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 2. It says, For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy power, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto Himself above all the nations that are upon the earth. And what makes us a peculiar people, is the fact that we have the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua within us, man. That's what makes us so great, all right? And this is why, no matter where Jake is in the world, all right, that spirit, it shines through, the flesh, all right? This is how we always tell that, look, this Israelite thing isn't a color-based thing, man, all right? It's about the spirit. That's why Romans 8:16 tells us it's the spirit that beareth witness that we're the children of the Most High, man. But the Lord's Spirit always shows through of who His people are, okay? But the point being that we were made a special people unto Him, all right? And we were made special because we were given the law, statute, commandments to keep us separate from the rest of the heathen, man, all right? But now we're at a point to where Israel has been so downtrodden and beaten down to where Israel don't know how valuable they are. They don't know who to worship, all right, and they're seeking acceptance any way they can find it, all right, because at the end of the day, we are only supposed to be serving the Lord, but Jake has debased themselves to where, look, they'll literally serve anybody and anything, man, which is why you see these nations take advantage of you, man, all right? Whatever religion you try to go to the Christianity and blend in with Edomites, hey, you don't fit in. Okay, you go to Moab and their God, dealing with the Buddhism, you don't fit in. You go to Islam with which is the so-called Arabs religion, you don't fit in. And you notice that all these different nations that see that you're worshiping their gods, they don't respect you. They don't give you any type of you know so-called brotherly alliance. They don't, because they know that those guys aren't yours. Okay, let me get that real quick. Jeremiah 2:11. It says, "Hath a nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods, but my people have changed their glory for that which doeth not profit." Right. And so Jake is out here worshiping all manners of idols, not realizing, number one, that all of these idols go back to Satanism. Okay, all these idols that these nations worship are nothing more than figments of imaginations that they created, but it's just another fancy way of saying they worship Satan. Okay, that's all that is, because the scriptures tell you. All right, one more. Psalm 96:5. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua made the heavens. So here it is. Jacob is running from one idol to another, not realizing that the one true God, which is your God, all right, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Shem, okay, he is our true power. But here it is. Jake is making themselves, available to all these other different idols, not realizing that you are pissing the Lord off by continually running to these other gods, man. That's like, if you have a woman, you know, and your woman continues to play in your face by, going and talking and sleeping with other men, man. Eventually, if you are a sensible man, okay, because there's a lot of simps out here, but if you are a sensible man, all right, you're eventually going, put that woman away because you see she doesn't respect you. Well, that's why the Lord did what He did with us. But we're at a point now to where the Lord is like, look, you want to worship these other gods? Well, hey, they can have you, and that's the sentiment that we supposed to have in this world, man. If your woman doesn't want to abide by you, and she doesn't want to respect your order or listen, and she wants to go entertain the field, well, look, these other niggas can have you. The streets can have you. Yeah, we're not putting up with disrespect. That's our power and how he that's how he maneuvers, man, because he knows better than anyone that, like I said, these other gods are non-existent. They're idols, man. They're figments of imagination. They're not real. Okay, because the scriptures tell you that the Lord, He made the heavens, man, and when He searched the heavens, He found there was no other God but Him. Okay, matter of fact, let me try to find that. I think it's in Psalms. Let me just go on Google. It's giving me good ones, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Either way, I can read this. Isaiah 45:5. I am the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, and there is none else. There is no God beside me. I girded thee, though thou hast not known me. Right, and that's the point. That I'm making now. Okay, the Lord is the one that did all these things for us. Yet Jake will always give that glory to another entity, and this is why the Lord eventually gave us, to our downfall, man. Because the Lord is the one who made us great, man. Get that real quick. Deuteronomy 32:15. It says, but Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. Thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook the Most High, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. Right, and this is just showing you, how unappreciative we was as a nation to the Lord, because the Lord literally made us, great, man. Okay, and it says that he gave us all the riches of the Gentiles. He rescued us, or he exited us out of captivity in Egypt. Okay, he fed us with manna in the wilderness. Or had the pillar, which was Yahweh Shai in the chariot, over us. It was a chariot by day and a pillar of fire by night. All right, the Lord did great things for Israel, and yet our people, continually, disrespected the Lord by continually turning to idols. I'm gonna keep reading, verse 16. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods, with abominations. They provoked him to anger. They sacrificed unto devils, not to Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came newly up, whom your fathers feared not. Right. So Jake is always, turning to idols, man. All right, and there's new gods and new, forms of worship that our people will continually run to before they come back unto Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. So that's why I said, man, our people have been, exploited to the T, by these different nations and their gods, man. Okay, and you see how Esau is using Jake today, man. Looking at the hip hop industry or just black culture, period. They have made idolatry, the fashion of the world, and they push Jake to do that. This is why you see Jake doing all these, symbolisms in their music videos. All right, when they're talking, they're giving you all these different belief systems, and nobody is telling you to return to the true God, which is Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man. All right, and so they don't realize that in order for them to continue to do what they're doing, they have to continue to pledge their allegiance to these idols, man. All right, which is all Satan worship. All right. So hey, when you look at it, hey, we don't feel sympathy for these niggas out here when they begin to catch their hell, because they have chosen to continue in that path of loving somebody that don't love them back. All right, and you can tell that's the sentiment that our people were seeking. Like I quoted earlier, why trimmest thou ways to seek love? Because Jake will literally put off serving the Lord just so they can be accepted in society. All right, so that's why, hey, when these scriptures come out and just not even understanding that what we know, just dealing with looking at it through the lens of Christianity, which Christianity isn't respected. But when you try to look at it from that aspect, when you try to come to somebody and talk about the Bible, man, nobody wants to hear about it. Nobody cares about what the Bible says in today's time, man. All right, the Bible is nothing more than a placeholder at most people's, bookshelves, if they even have one, and they'll put it on the dashboard or whatever in their car. But nobody cares about the words of the Lord, man, because they're winning thanks to what they believe that they're worshiping, and that's giving them their power, man. Whether it's Jesus, Buddha, Amen Ra, or whatever bullshit God they believe, man. They don't want to seek the true God of the Bible, man. This is why, hey, the Lord said this, because at the end of the day, He gave them over to their own foolishness, man. Jeremiah 30:14, it says, all thy lovers have forgotten thee, they seek thee not. For I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy, with the chastisement of a cruel one, for the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased. Right. And you wonder why you continually are catching hell, not realizing that's the punishment being sent from you being sent from on high, from Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, because your continual disobedience, man. But then you'll run to these different nations and beg, for help, beg for mercy, like the whole, BLM thing, man. Jake is constantly, running with their hands out to Esau, trying to, ask for help. They begging, to be accepted. They begging them to admit that their life matters and all these things. Well, these people don't care about you, man. all the atrocities that we face as a nation, what nation has stood up and offered to help us? All right, you stupid niggas that believe that you come from Africa still. Why haven't those Hamites over there, offered a helping hand, to come get you from the coast of America, man? All right, you niggas want to be, African so damn bad. Well, why aren't your African brothers come on the boat and receive you once we were taking off the west coast of Africa during the transatlantic slave trade, man? All right, they hate you, just like all the other nations. They hate you, man. You're not respected amongst these other nations, okay? Because number one, they know who you are. They know that you are the Israelites, man. They know that that you're not the true Muslims. They know that you're not a Buddhist. They know that you're an Israelite, man. All right, and the fact that you stay disconnected from your power, that benefits them, man. You know, and this is why the Lord continues to add those licks to your sentence, man. You know, because you're doing all this shit trying to survive out here. All right, Jacob put on the cross or the rosary beads. They'll go to church every Sunday or Saturday or whatever day that they go worship. Jacob get the prayer mat and pray 5 times a day with the little I forgot you call that damn hat that the Muslims wear. With the, go out in the corner selling bean pies, all that bullshit. None of that it benefits you in the long run because you're still empty inside because that's not that's in the spirit is telling you that that's not the way. Okay, this is Isaiah 52:3. For thus saith the Lord, ye have sold yourselves for naught, and ye shall be redeemed without money. Because none of these other nations or their religions are going to help you get out of the position that we are in now. Okay, the only way to escape these curses and the situation, all right, that we're in dealing with, the upcoming persecution and Jacob's trouble, and the eventual destruction that's going to come, via World War III and the ICBM nuclear missiles. The only thing that's going to prevent you from being a part of that is you repenting and coming back unto Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Other than that, man, hey, you're going to be destroyed, man. That's just what it is, So here it is. You want to continue to sell out for money, for fame, for clout. You want to be somebody on this side. Well, none of that's going to help you in the day of your visitation, because here it is. The Lord is giving you ample opportunity to repent. Yet you don't want to come back. So at the end of the day, man, it's going to be to your detriment. All right. This is Luke 6:24. It says, "But woe unto you that are rich, for you have received your constellation. Woe to you that are full, for ye shall hunger. Woe to you that laugh now, for you shall mourn and weep." Right, and that's for all you jakes out here that believe that you got it. All right, you see the prophets out here trying to get you to come back unto your nationality. You mock, scoff, and talk shit. Well, you gonna have to trust in your money. You gonna have to trust in whatever bullshit religion or belief system that you got, and you're gonna come to find out in that day that it's all for naught, and you're gonna be destroyed, man. And it's gonna all be shown that, look, you were warned and you chose to disobey. So, hey, so be it. You forgot the Lord, well, the Lord forgot you. All right. Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power. I will also forget thy children. Okay, and that's the point. Okay, you want to continue to stay ignorant and filthy. The Lord said, He told us, let them that be filthy still, man. All right, let them that's unclean be unclean still. All right, but for you that want to be holy, let you be holy still, man. All right, the Lord's only concerned with the elect. All you other niggas out here that want to continue to play the harlot, well, so be it. And you're going to receive a harlot's death. And what is a harlot's death, man? To be burnt. All right? And you're going to be burnt up in that fire. All right? Hey, well, it's like a harlot's death is to be stoned. All right? And then if you're the daughter of a priest, you're to be burned at the stake. Well, you're going to get the best of both worlds. You're going to be stoned and burned, man. Okay? So this is why it's important for you, all right, to have this truth, man, to continue to do what's needed to be done so that you can be hid from the destruction the Lord has, been given. All right? Say, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I'm going to end it right here. I want to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shah Bashem, Makah HaKodash. Double honors to my apostles and elders of great millstone that taught me this truth and that rule well. And peace and salutation to the elect. Until next time, I say Shalom.